We often look back at the 1960 Kennedy-Nixon debate as an iconic, neutral record of a historical event. To the viewer, these broadcasts look like objective windows, simply relaying facts from the studio directly into the living room. But no piece of communication is a perfect mirror. Every broadcast is a version of reality assembled through 1,000 individual choices. This is because language is intertwined with social activity and ongoing social processes. It doesn't just describe our world, it is part of how we act within it. When we ignore these mechanics, we perceive these broadcasts as neutral records rather than the specific, shaped versions of the world they actually represent. If we only pay attention to the explicit model, the literal, surface-level words, we miss the context that gives those words their weight. Every text carries a secondary layer of implicit meaning, a set of unspoken assumptions that steer how we are meant to feel about the facts being presented. Critical discourse analysis, or CDA, provides a formal toolkit to examine these underlying layers. It allows us to see the rules that govern what a text is allowed to say, and more importantly, what it chooses to leave out. We can begin this analysis at the smallest scale, the author's selection of individual words. For example, choosing to describe an event as a noun rather than using a verb shifts the focus. It can turn an action into a static fact, removing the person responsible for the act. This leads us to ask, for whom was this text written? And in what terms is the subject being framed to guide the reader's perception? These choices aren't accidents. A single noun or adjective is a tool used to steer the reader toward a specific conclusion. This logic applies to more than just writing. It extends into the visual world. This is the field of semiotics, the study of signs, symbols, and how we create meaning through images. Take this vintage map. We might view it as a replica of geography, but it is actually a construction based on the mapmaker's perspective. The creator chooses specific symbols and proportions to serve a narrative purpose, often emphasizing their own region or interests. Because images are open to a wide range of interpretations, they are powerful tools for reinforcing a message without the viewer even noticing. When these micro-choices in text and images appear across our media, they form recurring patterns. Individual instances of bias can snap into rigid structures that dominate how we discuss a topic. These discourse patterns are symptoms of what researchers call mental models. These models are built on the existing beliefs and thoughts of a society. They represent the shared logic that tells us what is normal or expected. By reflecting these shared models, our media constantly reinforces the current framework of our society. These patterns do more than just reflect our environment. They actively participate in building it. When our media repeats specific nouns and symbols, it reinforces a shared expectation of how things should be. This repetition can lock certain social roles and power dynamics into a permanent rotation. Eventually, these meticulously built viewpoints begin to feel like simple common sense. We forget that they were constructed at all. But by applying the tools of CDA, we can recognize these mechanics in real time. Understanding these forces allows us to look past the surface and engage with the world as active, critical observers.